University members and new history group attendees, and of course, guests. And as always, I request that if you're a guest, please sign our book at the front entrance so that we know you are here. And as always, I'd like to thank Manuel, who gives us a place to sit, make sure we can see and hear, and Elizabeth and Judy Beck for providing our morning snack. And I would be lost without Tom Burke, who assists me in our history today. So we're grateful for all of you coming, and we're doubly grateful for their generous help and assistance. So please give them a big hand. And reach into your pockets, your pocketbooks, and wherever, and turn off your phones. And turn off that one that always goes off. We don't like the interruption, and it's always a distraction. Our next program will be Monday, March 18th, here in the ballroom. Yesterday's news, today's news, and probably tomorrow's news is filled with Russia and Vladimir Putin. Our next history group meeting will open up an interesting dialogue about this powerful ruler. Dr. Ellen Horowitz, who's in the audience, will look at the historical context in which Putin has emerged as one of the world's most powerful leaders, the personality that facilitated his accomplishments, and the challenges that he met along the way. She'll look, too, at our difficulty in appreciating his political ideology and his behavior. Dr. Horowitz is a historian who specializes in the history of leadership in the Russian, Byzantine, and medieval worlds. Her credentials of teaching, writing, and studies in this area are truly unsurpassed. She's a repeated presenter for the history group and always leaves you thinking. So do come Monday, March the 18th, and share the morning with us. I'm sure you'll find it's an exciting and provocative meeting. Now, History Today, Monday, March the 4th. This one I included only because of our last presenter, or one of our last presenters. In 1238, the Battle of Sit River was fought near the western border of present-day Russia Federation during the Mongol invasion of Russia. The battle marked the end of a unified resistance to the Mongols and inaugurated 2 centuries of Mongol domination of modern-day Russia and the Ukraine. In 1493, explorer Christopher Columbus arrived back in Lisbon, Portugal, aboard his ship Nina from his voyage, what is now the Bahamas in the Caribbean. In 1519, Hernan Cortez arrived in Mexico in search of the Aztec civilization and its wealth. 1681, Charles II granted a land charter to William Penn for an area that later became Pennsylvania. In 1789, in New York City, the first Congress of the United States met, putting the United States Constitution in effect. The United States Bill of Rights was written and proposed to that Congress. In 1902, the American Automobile Association was founded in Cleveland. In 1913, the United States Department of Labor was formed. In 1917, Jeanette Rankin of Montana became the first female member of the United States House of Representatives. In 1975, British film actor and director Charlie Chaplin was named the Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II. In 1987, Jonathan Pollard was sentenced to life imprisonment for spying for Israel. In 1998, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that sexual harassment at work can be illegal even when the offender and victim are of the same gender. In 2018, former M16 spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter were poisoned with a nerve agent in Salisbury, England, causing diplomatic uproar that resulted in mass expulsion of diplomats from all the countries involved. And that's history today, March the 4th. And now it's my pleasure to turn the mic over to my co-chair, Dr. Ovid Vitas, who will introduce today's speaker. Please give him a hand.
Good morning. Whoa. That's not me. Tarzan. Wow, what an introduction. Okay. Where is Cheetah? But anyway. Okay, Steve. Come out of the jungle there, but Steve Bertha was born in Budapest, Hungary, and emigrated as a child to Venezuela, where he grew up. He received a B.S. in chemistry at the University of Pennsylvania and a Ph.D. in chemistry at Florida State University. He went back to Venezuela, where he then was one of the founders and the head of the chemistry department of the Simón Bolívar University in Caracas. Later on, he returned to the United States, where he managed the intellectual property regarding inventions made at Yale University, University of Illinois, and the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City. Steve also found time to write a biography for his children and grandchildren, so they know and understand more of their origins. He has been an active member of the University Club since joining in 2015, and now he serves as the co-chair of the Foreign Affairs Group. Steve's spare time, he has traveled extensively worldwide, visiting 4 continents, not 5, 4. One of his areas of interest is the Mesoamerican civilization. On behalf of the History Group, it gives me great pleasure to introduce club member Steve Bertha, who will enlighten us about Mesoamerican civilization. Steve?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I swear I disconnected my phone. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Anyway, the most accepted theory of how man reached America is that about 15,000, 16,000 years ago, he walked over from Siberia to Alaska, to today's Alaska. 15,000, 16,000 years ago, we were in an ice age, and a lot of ice was on the continents, and therefore the sea level was lower. And so this area here called Beringia, that was dry land. So they could just walk across, and they did. That is the theory. Apparently they walked over numerous times with small groups of people. And that's how they got to America. Now, it took about 1,000 years to reach every corner of America, of all of America, all the way from Alaska to Tierra del Fuego. That's pretty astounding, I think. Even here in Florida, there is an excavation in Wakulla County where they found human implements which they dated 14,500 years old here in Florida. Now, the development of civilizations was not that easy. That took a long, long time. And by civilization here, I mean larger groups of settled people, depending on agriculture, with a common government, with a stratified society, and some cultural traits such as religion, art, technology. So it really took a long time to get the civilizations established. And about the same time, interestingly enough, 3,500 years ago, several civilizations started. We're going to be interested, of course, in the one in Mesoamerica. In Mesoamerica, they settled this area here. Very rich land, a lot of water, very good climate. So it makes sense that they started there. They started in the city of San Lorenzo. That's really the very first city in North America, populated city. Then later on, La Venta was important, and much later, Zapotes. One of the characteristics of Olmec culture that everybody knows about, and a lot of people have heard of it, is these colossal heads, like that one. They're pretty big things. They weigh between 25 tons and 40 tons. Here's another one. They don't know how they got there. They found 17 of these colossal heads in the Olmec region of today. And it's a mystery of how they were able to carry such very heavy things to those places. Also, we don't know what they mean. Are these gods or rulers? The idea is that these were rulers of very ancient times. Most of the heads, most of those 17 heads, I think about 10 of them, were from older than 1,000 years BC. And a couple of them were later, of course. By the way, I'm appearing in some of these photos myself. It's not because of narcissism, it's because of the yardstick. I want to see, or you to see, the size of the things behind. Well, maybe there's a little bit of that, I don't know. Another feature of the Olmecs is the altars. These are also huge, massive stone pieces, and they're very much alike. They all have a character, a person emerging from the underworld. Now, the underworld was very, very important for the Olmecs and actually for all the subsequent Mesoamerican civilizations. It was the place where the dead went. And it was not only the dead, but of course the managers of that place, the gods of that place. It was a very mythical, very important place, the underworld. And it is not known why the figures emerged from the underworld. Here is another example. They practically all do have that. They emerge from the underground. Another characteristic is the stelae. Stelae are slabs of wood which are longer than wide, and they have inscriptions on them, like this one, for example. Notice the serpent, which is a very important emblem for Mesoamerica altogether. Another characteristic is jade masks and figures. This is also unique to Olmec civilization. Look at those beautiful carved face masks, and they're really astounding. And these are little figurines, a couple of inches long, and they're also made mostly of jade, except this guy is made of basalt. Now, the Olmec civilization has been considered by historians as the mother civilization that started many of the aspects of later civilizations in Mesoamerica. And so some of those features are these. The sun god, feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, the Mayas called it Kukulkan. And the rain deity, Tlaloc, which was called by the Mayans Chac. Here is a cave painting of the plumed serpent pretty old, at least 1,000 years BC. So that's how old the sun god Quetzalcoatl goes back in history. Another feature that the Olmecs started is the bowl game. Now, this is a game that is still played today in some places of Guatemala and Mexico. It has to do with a rubber ball. I don't know exactly how they play. I understand that there are several different types of games. I do know that if this ball goes through that hole, that means a lot. It's almost like Kidditch, you know. They end the game and they get 1,000 points or something. Another is the pyramids. They started building pyramids. Here is one. This is not a very impressive pyramid. Was built about 500 BC. It is solid. But this one is impressive. This is the Pyramid of Cholula. It is the biggest pyramid in the world. Now, the Cheops, of course, is taller. But in volume, in mass, this is provenly the biggest one in the world. So big, in fact, that the Spanish built this church on top without knowing that it was a pyramid. They thought it was a hill. It was much later on that they found that inside it, you know, there's a pyramid, and excavations inside it have all sorts of tunnels and implements and things. And also around it, they have excavated and found buildings, temples, and other features, such as this sort of a mini colossal head, indicating also Olmec importance. Another feature that they brought in for the rest of Mesoamerican society was ritual bloodletting. That's right. They did this to appease the gods and to give thanks. Here is an example of, let's see, as you can see, there's a rope here with barbs, and this guy is pulling that rope through its tongue. And so that was a type of bloodletting, appeasement, and thanksgiving that they give. Now, I want to point out this slab here is not Olmec. There are no direct evidences from the Olmec. What we do know is that they have the same type of barbs and the same type of needles, stingray needles, for example, that later societies used for bloodletting, and that indicates to us, I guess, that the Olmecs used it as well. Now, the Olmecs started to decline about 400 BC, not known why. Volcanism, maybe, environmental changes, maybe. A subdued civilization, Epi-Olmec, survived until about 300 AD, and they lived in Tres Zapotes in that region. Now, as the Olmec civilization was dying, the Teotihuacan civilization was rising. Teotihuacan is over here. It's 60 miles northeast of Mexico. We don't know much about them. We do know that when you go to Mexico City and want to do some tourism, everybody will tell you, we'll take you to the pyramids, we'll take you to the pyramids. And most people think that they are Aztec pyramids. They're not. They're Teotihuacan pyramids, a totally different society. Aztecs came much, much later. Anyway, so oops, sorry about that. This is Teotihuacan today. It's a beautiful place to visit. It's a very, very interesting place to visit. It's not far from Mexico City. As I said, we don't know much about them. We don't know who their rulers were much. We don't really know why it was abandoned, how they were ruled, what the governing system was. But we do know a few things. We know that they dominated Mesoamerican civilizations, the other groups in Mesoamerica. And we also know that Teotihuacan became one of the largest cities in the world at that time. And I have here a comparison of that. Teotihuacan was supposed to house at least 200,000 people in the year roughly 500 AD. At the same time, Athens only had 110,000 people, roughly. Rome had 100,000 people. Antioch, in today's Turkey, had 150,000. Constantinople was the big city back then, 400,000. Nanjing, 150,000. So Teotihuacan, rightfully, was one of the biggest cities in the world at that time. Their main gods were the plumed serpent and the rain god that they acquired from the Olmecs, and they were called Quetzalcoatl and Tlaloc. And here is Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, and this is the image of Tlaloc. The way I remember which is which is because this one looks a little bit like Goofy, the Disney character, because it's his teeth. They were relatively peaceful, it seems, because there are really no signs of military might in their cities or in the places, in the areas that they dominated. The city has no fortifications. The murals that they have do not depict any act of violence or art. It seems, however, they did practice human sacrifice, at least for some occasions. It wasn't very prevalent, but it happened. And they ended violently. The civilization ended violently. Now, they were unique in many things. They were unique and excellent in urban planning. You saw the plan. That was made from scratch. It was not built on top of an older city. All from scratch, beautifully perpendicular streets, and so on. They even had high-rises or something like that. Close to the Temple of the Sun, or the Pyramid of the Sun, they had buildings that were several stories high that housed families. It would be the equivalent of today's high-rises. So they were excellent at this. They had beautiful murals. And here's an example of the murals. Now, the peaceful aspect of them is emphasized by figures like this. This is a butterfly. These apparently are earthworms. I don't know. These people here seem to be playing a game and maybe singing. It seems like it was sort of a happy society. Here is a lower part of the same mural. They had water, they liked to swim. So it just looked like it was a very nice, peaceful society. There were masters in obsidian. They had a mine, obsidian mine, not so far away from Teotihuacan. They made knives, they made lances, they made arrowheads. Yeah. Oh, and Teotihuacan started to decline in the 6th century and was burned and sacked in 700 AD, roughly. And it essentially disappeared as a civilization.
By who? Who was it burned and sacked by?
Not known.
Oh, not known.
It is not known who did the sacking and the burning. Probably tribes from the north. And we'll see this. This is a pattern in Mesoamerica. The tribes from the north come, destroy, and they become powerful. So this is... most of you must have seen, must recognize this. This is, yes, you're right. This is the jungle moon of the planet Yavin Prime in the first movie of Star Wars, A New Hope. The giveaway, of course, is this trooper here and the spaceship that is about to land. Now, I do like to travel, And I've been to many places, but this one time, I decided to go far, far away, and it ended up in the lunar jungle. Well, of course, this is Tikal. Tikal is the abandoned city of the Maya. It was a very important city at the time, from about 250 to 900 or so. The Mayan civilization altogether rose about 250 AD to 900 and ended at about 950 AD. And they seem to lag Teotihuacan by about 150, 200 years. And in fact, at around 500 AD, both cities were more or less equally powerful and known. The Maya civilization was never an empire like the others. It was rather city-states, and they did commerce and they fought one another. And these are some of the cities, a number of the cities that they had. We recognize Chichen Itza, we recognize Tulum. Here is Palenque, Tikal, Copan in today's Honduras. And they keep on finding new cities and ruins. I mean, the researchers keep on finding. They have new technologies, sort of light detectors or light radars. There's a new technology that they have, the jungle penetrating technology, and they keep finding new areas. Now, the Mayas, of course, adopted some of the features that the Olmecs started and then the Teotihuacan started. For example, the pyramids, the feather serpent, the sun god, but they call them Kukulkan, the rain god, Chak, the ball game, bloodletting sacrifices. They also had a little bit of human sacrifices, but it wasn't a big thing. It was mainly sacrificing members of the families of other cities, rivals, and so on, but it did happen too. Now, they also made important advances on their own, like a written language. The Mayas had the only written language in America. The Incas didn't have it, and no other Mesoamerican civilization had it. And they were written in glyphs. Now, these are rather complicated things. These